All right, good morning. Okay, so let's begin. On today's session, we shall be looking at the different topics that you take on or you are faced with during your reading test. Of course, you may not actually notice that the questions are coming from various topics. But with the help of this training and exposures, you will be able to recognize the different topics that you treat when you begin to practice your reading test at the end of this session. So let's begin. First, yesterday we went through the different important keys that you can apply during your listening and your reading test. And we talked about the trick, the tips, and the techniques. I just want to do a very quick recap so we could continue with today's session and there'll be link or continuity. So on the trick yesterday, we started with understanding the instruction, because that is the only thing that will help you to correctly apply the trick when you are taking on your listening test. So for the trick, we actually understood that you do not need to apply the bracket trick when you are treating a section that says no more than one word during the reading test. You don't need to apply the bracket trick when an instruction says no more than one word. And the reason is because when you're getting your answers for the reading test under a section that says no more than one word, you are practically going or meant to get just a single word. You're not meant to write beyond one word, because doing that automatically will make your answer to be incorrect. Okay, so when that is clearly understood, what you want to really do is ensure that you find the correct answer. Ensure that you find the correct answer. Now, when you find the correct answer, you are expected to write it exactly the way it is in the passage where you got it from. You are to do what is called copy and paste. Now, if that is the case, there is no need for you to begin to think whether a word should have the S in bracket or not. Because in the sentence where you lifted the word from, of course, that word, if it is in the singular form, there is no need to import an S from somewhere and then put it in bracket. It's not necessary. If the word is meant to be in the plural form, what you need to do is write the answer in the plural form exactly. So there is no need for you to think whether you should leave the letter S that should make it plural in bracket. It's not necessary. So for a section or any section that says no more than one word and or a number, please do not apply the bracketry. Write your answer just the way it is from the passage or in the passage. Now, yesterday we started with sections that would give you instructions such as no more than 2 words and or a number. Now, to understand this, we interpreted what this instruction means, literally. So based on our interpretations yesterday, no more than 2 words and or a number simply means you should write your answer, but do not exceed 2 words. So by implication, this means your answer can just be 1 word. It can be 2 words. It can be 1 word and a number. It can be 2 words and a number. It can as well be just a number without a word. So if this is clearly understood, to apply the bracket trick, you need to identify which word is my primary answer and which word is my supporting answer. So that means, since you want to have 2 words provided, you now want to play safe in a way that in case what is required is just 1 word, because 2 words, number and 2 words and a number does not mean your answer should come as two words all through. Please note this. Don't go writing 2 words all through. 1 word may be perfect, then 2 words may be accepted. But if an answer under more than 2 words requires just 1 word, and you write 2 words, of course your answer will be incorrect. Please note this. Right? So what happens? What do? You have to identify the primary word and leave it open. Then the supporting word to that primary word will now be in bracket. That's where you put the bracketry. So with that, if what the IELTS examiners drafted out to be the correct answer happens to be maybe just 1 word, because the other word, the supporting word you wrote is in brackets, it will be acknowledged that your answer is just 1 word. Okay? And if they want the 2 words as the correct answer, the one in bracket would also be acknowledged. Do you understand? So the bracket trick actually helps you to play safe. It keeps you preserved and protected, so that if the required answer happens to be just 2 words and you have 1 in bracket, the 1 in bracket will be acknowledged and marked as 2 words. If the required answer happens to be 1 word and you have the supporting word in bracket, then the supporting word that is in bracket will be ignored, and the primary answer, which is open, will be marked as the one answer that they need. Do not put 2 words in bracket when the instruction says no more than 2 words. If you put the 2 words in bracket, you have no answer. And then let's understand that if you put the primary answer in bracket and leave the supporting answer open, you are also incorrect. So you need to understand this, that this is the way to go when it comes to applying the bracketry. When it is, if an instruction says no more than 3 words and a number, yesterday we were able to interpret this instruction, and based on our interpretation, we were meant to understand that no more than 3 words and a number means your answer can be 1 word, and that's perfect. Your answer can be 1 word and a number, and that would be perfect, without necessarily requiring 3 words. Your answer can also be 2 words. It can as well be 2 words and a number. Then on a maximum, you can have 3 words. Okay? And you can as well have 3 words and a number. Then you can have a number without a word. Please, these are the breakdown of what this instruction means. No more than 3 words and a number. It simply means you should not write more than 3 words. Don't go beyond 3 words. Ensure that you are writing between 1 to 3 words. Now, how do you play safe? How do you play safe in the sense that should the answer require just 1 word? How do you play safe when you write 2 words or 3 words? This can be done by way of identifying the main answer. Identify your main answer, put the supporting words that you have added in brackets, but leave the main answer open. Please, do you understand this? When you're putting the remaining two words or the other two words that maybe had that you've written to make it up to 3 words, when you are putting them in bracket, ensure that you don't put the 2 words in one bracket. Each word should be in its own bracket. Because if you put 2 words in one bracket, automatically the 2 words will be invalid. You have annulled the 2 words. So learn that if you are treating no more than 3 words and you have a 1-word answer, maybe you have your 1-word primary answer, the other 2 words are now the supporting words. So what you need to do is put each of the supporting words in its own bracket. Okay? So that's the way to go. Okay. Now we went further to talk about tips. For tips yesterday, we looked at 2 different things. The first one was that you should carefully read the instruction for each section before attempting any question. Now this is so paramount because reading instruction before starting any section would help you to understand if your answer should come as 1 word or in 2 words or in 3 words. You have to know how many words maximum you're meant to write so you don't go beyond, because doing that will automatically make your answer to be incorrect. Now, reading instruction before starting any section would also help you to understand if your answer is meant to come in alphabets. Whether you're to write A, B, C, or D, or E, whatever it is. So you need to really understand this. More so, reading instruction will help you to understand if your answer should be written in Roman numerals. So you want to check to see if you are supposed or if you are expected or required to write I, V, and all the rest. Okay? Also, reading instruction will help you to know if you are to select any two or any 3 correct letters from the list of options provided. Now, if this is the situation, you should understand that your answer would be covering 3 different questions. The 3 answers you are to choose or select are meant to cover 3 different questions. For instance, questions 11, 12, and 13. So do not make the mistake of writing the 3 different answers at a particular question. Maybe 11 you are writing B, A, D. No, it is supposed to be B for 11, A for 12, and D for 13. Instruction would also help you to understand if 2 answers can be gotten from a particular paragraph. Now, for this to play out or for this to happen, there would be a note or there will be a highlight that would establish note before, NB, meaning note before, and then to proceed and say NB, you may use any letter more than once. You may use any letter more than once. This means when you go through the paragraphs which are already labeled in letters A, B, C, D, or E, now for a particular question, for instance, your answer could be C. Let's say for question 14, your answer could be C. Now, when you write your C, because there is a pin instruction that says you may use any letter more than once, it is also possible that although the answer to question 14 is C, it is also possible that the answer to question 16 or 17 can as well be C. So you have to understand this, and understanding can only come when you actually read instructions. Now, reading instruction will also help you to understand if you are to complete sentences with 1 word or 2. It will help you to identify the topics you are treating. It will also help you to know if you are to match headings. If you are to match headings. So please, note this. Now the second part of the tips we treated yesterday was you are meant to apply your reading by way of reading the questions first. You're meant to read the questions under the particular section first. Once you're done reading the question, you are now meant to go to the passage and begin to read the passage. So reading the passage with the prior information you've gotten from the questions you've read will now help you to be well focused, and you will know what you are reading for. But there is something you need to understand. When you are reading, when you go through the questions first, please try to avoid reading a particular question more than once. Avoid it. You need to read each question only once. And the reason you are even reading the question is not for you to actually understand the question, but to help you to identify the keywords in the questions. Okay? So when you read a question, identify the keyword. Those keywords you are going to identify are the words that would be paraphrased, the words that will be changed with synonyms when you go to the passage. So how do you identify the keywords in each question? Simple. All you need to do is use your pencil or use your highlighting function if you're doing the computer-based test. If you're doing the paper-based test, of course, you can use your pencil. Rule under those words or circle the words or however you're going to make an indication around those words. Go ahead and do that. It will help you to note that these words are keywords that may possibly be paraphrased when I go to the passage session. So with that, you then go to the passage and you know what you're reading for. So as you read the passage, you are now meant to realize that, okay, this information right here is actually referring to that word I underlined at question 2. So at this point, use your pencil again and underline the whole of that information that you consider to be referring to the words you have identified at the question session. If you are doing the computer-based test, all you need to do would be use your highlighting function to highlight the sentence or phrase or information that you feel is actually relating or referring to the identified words at the question session. So you have to keep doing this all through as you read the passage. But remember, you're not meant to read the passage like you're reading a newspaper. You're meant to read the passage at very high speed, fast pace. This will help you to actually complete your reading. Else, you will realize that you won't be able to actually complete the reading. So you have to be a fast reader. Okay, so when you keep highlighting as you read the passage, you keep highlighting major information, which you feel are actually potential answers to those words you have underlined at the question session. As you're done highlighting those or underlining those key information in the passage, you are done reading. Then go back to the questions, but this time around you are reading one question at a go. So when you read the first question, you go to the passage, you are to scan through those words or those information or sentences or phrases that you've underlined, then you will scan through them to locate your answers. With this, you won't have to read the passage all over. You just have to scan the highlighted areas for your answer. Alright, so that's about the tips. Now, we also treated the techniques where we talked about paraphrasing, which has to do with the practice of restating an information using synonyms or phrases that still retain the original answer or idea. So yesterday we understood how the questions are being paraphrased when you go to the passage, or how the passage or the words used in the passage are being paraphrased when they are asking you questions about those areas. So we're able to understand yesterday how to paraphrase from words to phrases, from words to figures, from figures to words, from words or figures to fractions or percentages, from words or figures to general terminologies. So we were able to treat all of these yesterday, and then I gave us an opportunity to participate actively by stating what you feel is or are the words or phrases, or how to express those words, information in a way that it will still mean the same thing. And that was where we ended yesterday. Alright, to begin with today's topics, I would want to encourage, please, if you're viewing from the YouTube platform, kindly like this video. Please do well to subscribe to this video if you are a new viewer. Please also share the link to your friends who may need to undergo training virtually and have no financial strength to afford the fees. This is the best platform for you to get all you need to write and ace your IELTS in one sitting. So feel free to please subscribe, like our videos, share the links to your friends, colleagues, and family members who need this information. Don't keep it to yourself alone. So let's begin. Today we are looking at the reading topics, and the first we have on the board is matching paragraphs. What is the matching paragraphs all about? Matching paragraphs is the easiest part of the IELTS reading test. We consider it to be the easiest because the matching paragraphs is the only topic during your reading test that does not respect the tip of reading questions before passage and then question before answer. The reason for this is because under matching paragraphs, the answers to questions are fixed at a particular section or area in each paragraph. Let's assume that you have this paragraph right here. You have different paragraphs. Okay. So right here, let's assume you have this sentence, full stop, and then another one continues, and it goes on and on. Okay, so let's assume that you have this paragraph. You have paragraphs A, B, and C. Okay, now right here, on paragraph A, let us assume that you have how many sentences? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are 5 sentences in paragraph A. Now, if you're solving matching paragraphs, you will be required to identify which paragraph has this information. Of course, you're going to have different headings or pieces of information as questions. So you'll be required to identify which paragraph has the information. Okay, so what you have to do is, For matching paragraphs, you don't need to say, let me read the questions first, then I'll come here to read the paragraphs, then I'll come back and read question 1, then I'll start looking for my answer. No, you don't need to do that. The reason for this is, it is very simple to locate your answer when you're treating matching paragraphs. How does this work? This is because answers can be found either from the first sentence, or the second sentence, or the last sentence of each paragraph. There are 3 spots or locations where answers are always fixed if you're treating matching paragraphs. So the first one, you can find your answer when you read the first sentence of each paragraph. If that sentence does not give you your answer, read the second sentence. If the second sentence does not give you your answer, go to the last sentence. If you don't find it in paragraph A, you go to paragraph B. Read the first sentence. If you don't find your answer, go to the second sentence. If it's not there, go to the last sentence. These are the 3 locations where you can find your answers to questions on matching paragraphs. It's very straightforward. As a matter of fact, I usually tell people, treat matching paragraph questions first when you find it on the day you're treating your reading test. If you realize that or recognize that this section is matching paragraphs, go and treat it first. The reason for this is because the accuracy of your answer is very high, and your time management is also very high, because you already know where your answers can be found. The only risk taking on matching paragraph questions first on the day of your reading test is the chances of misplacing answers, since it is the first questions you are treating. So a lot of persons, because of exam condition, may forget that the matching paragraphs question is covering 21 to 25. So their first answer is supposed to go to 21. But because it is the first thing they are writing on their answer sheet, they may get carried away. They will end up writing the answer to 21 on number 1. Instead of writing it on number 21, they might get carried away and write on number 1. So if that happens, everything you're going to be writing on that question answer paper will be incorrect because of wrong placement. That's the only risk. So if you understand matching paragraphs and you want to take on it first, if you find it on the day of a reading test, what I usually advise people to do, or test takers to do, would be, when you read the question and you realize it is for question 21, please place your left finger, right, your index finger, left index finger on that 21. Place it on that question 21 so that it would help you to note that my answer is supposed to be written at 21 and not number 1. So, for matching paragraphs, please your answers are fixed either as sentence, the first sentence, or second sentence, or the last sentence. It is, don't doubt it, it is fixed, and this is the way it works. Perhaps sometime next week, I would practically show you how how matching paragraphs works. So we're going to have the projector projecting questions that are treating matching paragraphs. So I will show you how it works. So that's the way to go when you're treating matching paragraphs. Answers are usually fixed either on the first sentence or second or last sentence of each paragraph. So if the first paragraph does not give you an answer, after reading first, second, and last sentences, go to the next paragraph, paragraph B. If it doesn't give you an answer after reading first, second, and last sentences, go to the next paragraph. Just note that answers are fixed either in the first or second or the last sentences. Alright, I'm sure this is quite clear. So let's go to the next one, locating information and identifying information. They are quite similar. The approach is just the same. So what you are required to do is to identify which paragraph talks about this, or where can I find this information, in which paragraph can I find this information. So you have to locate where a particular expression was made, a particular information lies. But always remember that the words used to ask the questions will never be the same words used in the passage, especially the key words, because they are often paraphrased. IELTS now uses the synonyms of those key words. So when you read a particular question and go to the passage and you can't find that exact word, do not conclude that the answer is not there. Let it occur to you that that word may have been expressed using a synonym or alternative means. So you have to be quite smart. So for locating and identifying information, all you need to do is, when you read the first question, look for the paragraph that actually has or says something about that particular information. Now, in most cases, answers can also be like that of matching paragraphs, first, second, and last sentences. However, there are scenarios where answers will be found at the middle of the paragraph, right? So you have to be open. You have to understand that, yes, if I don't find my answers to locating or identifying information in the first sentence or second sentence or the last sentence, automatically my answer will be in the middle of the paragraph. Okay, so that's the way to go when you are treating locating information or identifying information. Now let's proceed to short answers. What does short answer imply? For short answers as well as summary answers, you are required to simply provide the exact words that were used in the paragraph or passage. So when you read a passage that is composed in different paragraphs, the IELTS examiners would extract some information, use them to form another short passage. So they pick little information from here, write it, another little information from here, join it, another one from here, join it, and they will have a short passage. So for when you are treating short answers or summary answers, you may be required to identify the exact word from that part that was extracted to form a new short passage. So there's a particular exact word that was used. That's what short answers or summary answers will require. Sometimes you'll be required to write one word or two words or three words maximum. Right? It's just for you to be smart to identify the correct information. Now, lastly, let's look at sentence completion. Now, for sentence completion, you should understand that answers would primarily be those words that are supposed to complete a particular sentence. Right? So, you should get the exact word that is meant to fill in a particular space. You get it from the passage, and that will be your answer. And when you read it, in your mind, when you read that part that has blank space, if you read it and use that word that you've selected to fill in that particular place, you need to also go and read what's in the passage and see that what you have done aligns with what's in the passage. That means you have correctly completed the sentence. But importantly, you need to identify how many words that your answer should come, whether the sentence completion answer should be one word or two words. Now, flowcharts. Flowcharts. For flowcharts, what you're meant to do primarily would be you are required to identify the chronological arrangement. Because for flowcharts, answers usually come in a descending order of magnitude. So if you find your first answer in the second sentence, it is possible that the next answer may be from the last sentence. You see that it's coming down. If you don't find it here, you find it in the next paragraph. It is coming down. You cannot find first answer here, second answer will take you up. No. So for flowcharts, answers are usually in a descending order. So the major win for you would be identifying where the first answer would come. So from there, the next answer would step down, and it continues that way as you get the subsequent answers. Right? The maps and diagrams, there could be a particular passage that talks about a particular gadget or innovation or invention, which is used to solve a particular issue. And then it will tell you the history of that particular gadget, the group of people who manufactured it, or the person that actually initiated and manufactured it. It will tell you what it looks like, the color, what it's used for, how long it lasts, and all of that. It will give you in-depth information about a particular thing. Then after that, the question may come in a way, by way of having the diagram, the diagram of that particular thing that was talked about in the passage will be given to you as the question. So when the diagram is drawn, you then have lines drawn out, just like asking you to label these parts, those identified parts. So to get the right labels, you will be required to go to the passage. The passage describes each part and section of that particular gadget. So when you look at each section that is highlighted for you to label, you go to the paragraph that talks about it, the paragraph that gives you the name, that describes that particular part, and then from there you get the name, and that's what you need. Now let's look at matching headings. This is where the major thing lies. Matching headings. What does it mean? For matching headings, you are required to read paragraphs in detail, but at a very fast pace. Read and understand. So as you read all of that, ensure you are underlining major information that you feel to be potential answers. Of course, before you go to the passage, you must have read the questions and identified the key words in the questions. So when you go to the passage to read, as you read, you highlight areas that you feel are potential answers to those words you may have or you ought to have underlined while you were reading the questions. So at the end of the passage reading, you'll be required to match different headings to the appropriate paragraph that best suits them. Right? So you also may want to be careful not to be in a haste to choose the wrong answer, because sometimes there are things we call distractors. Distractors are short and very precise and concise paragraphs that draw your attention very quickly, because they usually have figures and certain things that you are actually supposed to look for. So you quickly rush to pick them. But on the contrary, that shouldn't be your correct answer. Correct answers are usually coming from more detailed paragraphs. So avoid rushing and being so quick to selecting or picking your answers. Ensure that it is detailed and it is actually what you are looking for. So that's how we go about matching paragraphs. Then the last one right here is what we call identify writer's view. It is divided into 3 parts: true, false, and not given. You can also find the same template but written in different ways. For instance, yes, no, and not given. Now this is a topic that gives serious challenge to a lot of test takers. Okay. So let's look at true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given. What do they mean? True, false, not given, yes, no, not given. What do they mean? How do they come in? How do the questions come? These are things you really want to understand so you would be able to actually treat the questions correctly. Right? So to begin, All right, so to begin, let's look at true. In the IELTS reading test, you'll be given paragraphs or you'll be given a passage. So you are required to read a passage, pay attention to the information in the passage that you read. Then from the provided information, you will then determine if the information or statements which comes as the questions are true or false or not given. Right? So let's understand. At what point can you say that a statement? Because let's assume this is a passage written in different paragraphs, and then you'll be given certain statements which will be your questions. Now, you'll be required to confirm if this statement is true or false or not given, or if this statement is yes or no or not given. So how do you confirm it? Simple. Read the passage. Read this information, this statement. Now when you read the statement, trace to locate where the statement is actually referring to. Trace to locate where the statement is actually referring to. So when you identify or locate where that statement is referring to, go through the information and also check that statement word for word, compare it to what's in the passage. If it is saying exactly the same thing, if it is saying the same thing, even though there are paraphrases or the words may have been substituted with the synonyms, it will still be passing the same information as what is in the passage. So when you read and compare it and it's having the same information and idea, then at that point it is true. There shouldn't be any word in the statement that may have a contrary meaning to what is said in the passage. There shouldn't be any word in the statement that has higher value, that has something that is different from what the passage. If there is, then of course, that information is not true. For a statement to be true, the information must be saying exactly the same thing as what is in the passage. Don't assume that there is a mistake. Don't assume that there is an omission. Don't assume that, yes, it's even giving me more information. No. Work with what is provided in the passage. With your statement, work with what is provided in the passage, word for word. Ensure they are saying exactly the same thing. That's when you can say, okay, yeah, it is true. Now, when can you say that a statement is false? A statement can be said to be false if that statement is having something contrary to what is provided in the passage. If that statement is having a word, just one word, it's possible that 98% of the statement may be traceable in the passage or locatable in the passage, but the remaining 2% will just be one word which is saying something contrary to what's in the passage. So do not assume that it may be a mistake, since 98% is perfect. It is not a mistake. That's the text. Okay? So ensure that you are checking every word and confirm that, yes, this word is actually contrary to what's in the passage. At that point, it is false or it is no. Or that particular information is more than what was provided in the passage. At that point, it is false or more. So it's not until, you don't say until the entire statement is saying totally something that is totally opposite. No, it will just be one word alone out of the whole statement. So that single word that is opposite or contradicting what is in the passage has made the entire statement to be false or no. Please, I hope you understand this. Okay, now let's look at not given. When can you say that a statement is not given? A statement can be said to be not given if that statement is actually having an information that cannot be found anywhere in the passage. If the statement is saying something or giving some information that cannot be found anywhere in the passage, then please, that statement cannot be found anywhere, so it is not given. Right? Now, let's also understand how it could be not given. It could be not given if you find out that 95% of the statement is actually in the passage. Oh yeah, I can see everything there is in the passage. And then the remaining 5% is giving you even more detailed information. The passage didn't give it to you very detailed, but the statement is now giving you more detail. As humans, you might want to say, oh wow, this is even more detailed, so it's true. No, that additional detailed part has made it to be not given because you cannot see it anywhere in the passage. So when something cannot be found in the passage, it is not false, but it is not given. Please bear in mind, there is a difference, or there is a slight similarity, a very slight similarity between false and not given. Very slight similarity between false and not given. So you have to be very critical in your thinking. You have to be very smart and attentive. Pay attention to details. So if an information cannot be found in a passage, it is not false, it is not given. If you cannot find a particular information that is written in the statement, cannot find it anywhere in a passage, then it is not given. But if the statement is there in the passage, but one thing is contradicting the statement, or one thing is in the statement is contradicting what is said provided in the passage, then it is false, opposite, contradiction, opposite. Right? So that's how to locate these guys. So when you're taking your reading generally, you need to be very smart. You need to be quite analytical. You need to be quite critical in your thinking, right? Because IELTS wants you to get the correct information. And the reading test, I explained yesterday, is considered to be the easiest part of the IELTS test because your answers are right there in front of you. And you have the liberty to read as many times as possible to find your answer. So because of these provisions and possibilities, the marking scheme is now a little strict, right? So you need to perform or obtain or score high to be able to have a good band score in reading text. When you are reading, make use of your highlighting skills and functions. If you're doing a computer-delivered test, if it is a paper-based, make use of your pencil to do a lot of highlighting and underlining, to do a lot of ruling or crossing out, and all that you need to apply to successfully have a great reading experience that would have you score high. Okay, so that's it about the reading test. Please, if you have any question, do well to drop your question on the comment section of this YouTube video, of the video on our YouTube channel. Also, if you are a new viewer, please do well to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and you are quite free to visit again and watch to have better understanding if you are perplexed at any point. You can also share the links to our channel and videos to your friends and colleagues. Please feel free to do all of them. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section. Mr. John, do you have any question? Mr. John, do you have any question? Okay, so at this point, we shall call it a day. We will continue tomorrow, same time. Please get ready for more exposures and openings in the IELTS exams. See you tomorrow.